Hey, look in the chat real quick because I sent you a 1972 gold Corvette for sale. 35 grand.
That's it. And by the way, that's war bonnet yellow is that factory color.
War bonnet yellow.
That's what it was called, yeah.
Trojan probably had a condom that color. If you own this car in 1972, you had a white guy fro, you had a big butterfly collar with your chest hair hanging out, you probably stunk like Stetson or Bruce. Today on The Story of My Friends, Robert and I tell the Corvette story. That room looks nice. You square it all the way. Beautiful painted and nice color. Good trim. Recessed shelf.
Always been there. Maybe I'll show you later. I just picked the carpet up off the living room floor and sanded the hardwood.
Okay.
It's actually hardwood under it, and I did all this spackle and fixed all the walls. So that's getting painted probably today, I think.
So this being Philly, I'm assuming it's top nail pine tab underneath there?
Yeah, it's definitely pine. It's like that red pine.
Yeah. Okay.
It's perfectly serviceable for me.
Yeah, that was like that house I had in Manayunk where I ripped the carpet out because it was the world's first carpet.
Hey, speaking of Manayunk, I just happened to hear on the radio in Roxborough, they're doing a feats of strength test and recitation of grievances.
That's a Seinfeldian thing.
They canceled it. And now it's blown up into this huge recrimination.
Oh, no.
It's art imitating life for sure,
They canceled Festivus. We would do the bike race every year. They would send couches on dolly wheels down the hill. This is a steep hill. What better way to send drunk people down than to do that? Philly is its whole own thing.
That much has never changed.
Wawa. This is the official beginning of the show. Robert is drinking Wawa coffee.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering why you said Wawa. Well,
yeah,
it's right down the street. I didn't feel like making coffee.
Love Wawa. Wawa does have good coffee. McDonald's has surprisingly good coffee, too. You know what doesn't have good coffee? Starbucks.
I can't stand Starbucks coffee.
It's like burned water.
Yeah.
You know, how would you like your burned water served?
I'd never have understood that whole thing.
I think the only Starbucks fans just end up concocting adult milkshakes.
Yeah.
How would you like your candy bar in a cup served?
40,000 shitty artificial calories.
A butt full of pumpkin spice.
Mm-hmm.
Are you working today? I don't want to take up too much of your time here.
No, I don't think so. I think I'm off.
Been like that for 30 years.
Coming up on, I think it's 27.
I pine for that side of the world sometimes.
What, the East Coast?
Sticking around at the Inquirer. Let's start there. On the phone today is Robert Pratley on The Story of My Friends. Robert and I, we grew up early in our career together at the Philadelphia Inquirer and Daily News. And there was a time when I got to know you pretty well, pretty quick. Robert needs someone to go with him to Texas to pick up a Corvette.
Was this before or after the Fresh Air Kids event? Because that's when I really think that we cemented.
True. I mean, it might have been like right before. Let's tell that story real quick. A friend of mine had a canoe trip that he took every year down what's called the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon, which is the Pine Creek Gorge in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania. He was a middle state Pennsylvanian guy, always talking shit. Well, live out in the country. And we're like, we're us city boys. So me and Robert went up there like, hey, we're going to go do this thing. And
on a whim with nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
We had no idea what to expect.
No.
Crammed into a van on top of all his gear. We get freaking blasted the night before.
I slept in the van.
We load up our canoes, and there's these two other dudes there that are friends with our buddy Matt, who's just talking shit like all the Fresh Air Kids, which was a program to get inner city youth out into the country. So they called us the Fresh Air Kids. And we're having a good time, and we're drinking and smoking weed and going down this thing, and we have all our gear in these canoes.
Such as we had.
Yeah.
I remember having like almost no camping. We didn't expect to go camping, did we?
We expected to go camping. We didn't understand the concept of stuffing everything into a canoe and having that be the only stuff that you have for like 4 days.
Yeah.
So we might have underbrought or needed to borrow a lot of things. But with all the shit talking, the very first stop of the very first day, we stop and we expertly manage our canoe in and go on the beach and smoke a joint with one of the dudes. And then they go to get back in their canoe. And the guy who was making fun of us the most full on steps into one side of his canoe and dumps himself directly out the other side, flipping his canoe over and all his gear floating away down the river. Aside from laughing our asses off, we had to go out and like collect some of his gear and rescue him and manage that. So
I remember that differently.
Oh, do you?
Essentially the same, but because I have this image of him, we were standing on that gravel. It was a gravel bank on the side of the creek. I was facing the creek, so the woods were at my back, and he was standing in front of me talking smack when his canoe went floating down behind him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You can see it. Yeah. I just remember listening to what he was saying while the canoe was going behind him, and I didn't know whether to laugh or shit myself. I was like, I was It was one of the funniest things I ever saw in my life.
Was that when he goes to get in and falls out the other side?
Yes, yes. Then he goes in and he catches it, and then he falls over. That's right.
That was the part that I remember, was him running down and stepping into his canoe and basically tumbling out the other side on this first step.
Isn't that funny? The images, how we define that story. Because mine, for me, is the snapshot.
Yeah.
That snapshot of him and the canoe behind him going down the river. I'll never forget that as long as I live.
I'm actually no good at this. I don't really remember shit. So this is kind of why I'm recording stuff like this.
I don't either. What you said about when the canoe flipped over, that filled it in for me.
Okay.
Because I'm going, wait a minute. I started questioning my own memory.
I mean, you're right.
I'm like, no, I have that image.
Yeah.
But you were right too, because I didn't remember that part until after you said it. And I said, oh, that's right. It went by him, and then he scrambled to catch it and dumped his shit everywhere.
It wasn't like we were all standing in a tight-knit group. I was probably bouncing around Little Island like a squirrel. You guys were probably smoking the weed, talking to each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Canoe slowly peeling behind your head. As he's talking shit about you not knowing how to handle yourself outdoors.
That was a magical trip, though.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because, Joe, that was turned out, unbeknownst to anybody at the time, that turned out to be a watershed moment in my existence for me, because not only did I continue to do those trips, and we continue to do those trips annually for a long, long time with a large different group of people, some very successful and some not at all, to the point now where my kids do this. I still go with my kids and their friends and the kids that I brought every year after we quit going.
Yeah.
So like neighborhood friend kids that I brought with my kids that still go now. I still go. I just climb into the canoe. They handle everything now. They handle all of it. And they even go when it's not season. Ollie drives up there so he can hike into the trailhead to get to that magical camping spot that they all will be forever ingrained in their lives.
And this camping spot was amazing. It was on like a bend of the river down. You're the only people there, and you pull in and there's a stream outlet, and then sort of like a 10, 15 foot rise up to an abutment, a wooded abutment, where it's just like this perfect little tableau where you can set up camp and it's open and there's logs, and you got a stream behind you coming down from a waterfall, and then you have the main Pine Creek going by, and then if you can hike up behind you, there's that waterfall and there's all this features you can climb up, and it's just beautiful, magical place. And for the listeners, they can go to the website tsomf.com and see a picture of me and Pratley in our youth standing next to each other looking all handsome. We sort of pioneered, like, we needed to figure out the trip ourselves, because the first year you and I went, and then we wanted to show other people, so we brought other people and we were trying to figure it out. One of the years we went too early and it was like freezing cold and snowing.
Yeah.
We weren't prepared. And so that wasn't the best year for us. And then the year after that, I think, was a bit later, and everybody just got righteously drunk the whole time. We had a big group. People were stumbling drunk, falling in the river, dumping beers out.
That was bad.
We talked about that. And we're like, this isn't how we want to represent ourselves when we go out there. So it was just that trip was constantly being adjusted and tweaked.
It evolved a whole lot. And it continues to, which is, I think, is just fantastic. My kids look forward to it every year.
Yeah.
Said to me like a week or a week and a half ago, like, what, we should start picking a date. I'm like, Broham, it's not even Christmas yet. Come on, man.
The night before, we'd stay at the shittiest hotel next to the sewage treatment plant up in Wellsboro and just play cards.
Was that only once or twice that we stayed at that one?
I don't know. I just remember, like, we got there at night and we're like, what's that smell? And then we woke up the next day. It was like a giant sewage treatment plant right next door. I'm like, oh, I'm surprised you guys didn't put roots down there somewhere and get a little lean-to or duck hunting blind or bury a shipping container somewhere up there.
You know, I love that trip. And when it was over, I was ready to get back in the truck and head back out most of the time. So much shit happened on that trip, Joe. Oliver almost drowned on that trip. I had to jump into the water and save Ollie. And then I almost drowned after I got him out. Jason got impaled by broken pine branches from a downed pine tree.
Jesus.
He was climbing around on the trees and he fell. And the branch went right into his thigh. Ugh. And he was bleeding all over, but it was just about dark. It was no way I could navigate. The water was up.
Tie a thing off and suffer through it.
It was just the three of us, and Jason said, I can make it. And we stopped the bleeding, and he wrote it. He thugged it out. Still talks about that, too. So much on that trip, man.
I read a lot about the American Revolutionary War, and they had to do that.
Yeah.
They had to hike in the cold and portage all their gear around stuff like that. And it's like, didn't matter what the weather was or how you were feeling.
The best one we had was the time when it rained the whole time, and it was hard. It wasn't super cold, but it was raining and it was tough and it got dark and we had to hang the tarp just to get the fire going. That was the most valuable, most enjoyable one that we ever went on. For me, the first one will never. That sunshine off of the water and that beautiful spring sunshine, the warm and the smell and that creek and pushing off into the water, leaving everything else behind. The ultimate moment.
I agree with you. The first was the best, but I think my fondest one was probably the rock steak one. And we also made a video of going through the camp where you were surreptitiously in the background holding an axe in every scene. I was just walking through making a video of the camp. Hi, this is our camp, blah, blah, blah. We staged it because we were sitting around drunk. We didn't have anything better to do all day than sit around and drink beer. But we staged it so like we walked past McCollum and Patrick and Larry. We had it so that you would move in the background and just be in every scene as the camera panned across you. Not that they would see you. If somebody was looking, they would see you standing there with an axe. I'll absolutely find that. I do have that.
That would be funny to see.
We'll put that online for this episode. So Robert and I have some history, but I think the first meaningful chunk of time we spent together, one, it's Philly, two, it's two 20-something toxic males in Philadelphia working at a newspaper in separate departments. So we really didn't know like much about each other, but we did work together, and it wasn't until, and we'd go to Westies, we'd drink a lot together, but we didn't really like hang out. You were sort of this mysterious dude who lived in Germantown in some compound, motorcycle guy. You seemed very tough. And I wasn't so tough, Robert. Not scary, a nice, approachable guy, but not somebody that we really didn't hang out until, I believe, this trip. And again, memory is a fickle thing, and this is where we're going to be like, this is how the story happened, or this isn't how the story happened.
It all kind of flowed from work to happy hour to whatever we did that night. Yeah. Some shows and shit here and there.
Concerts and stuff like that. But then you needed somebody to go with you to Texas. It was actually told to me by McCollum. He's like, oh, just go with Robert to Dallas. And it was like, you were flying that weekend, and I wasn't really a good traveler. I'd done some limited travel, but I wasn't really used to it, adept at it as I am right now. I'll go do it. You and I caught up, and I believe we met at the airport in the Philadelphia airport, and it was like 8 or 9 a.m. And was it a Saturday? I think it was a weekend.
Trying to back it up from when because the whole thing was to get back in time for the christening for Bryant.
One of your besties and business partner and accomplice had a child, and you were going to be the godfather?
No. I had no official function. I was just supposed to be there.
Okay. But the christening was a Sunday, I believe, because that's when christenings happen.
Okay.
Was it? Okay. All right. So one of the 7 days of the week we were supposed to be back, and we had left a couple of days before that when we had timed it so that we would just go down, buy the car, and leave, because what else could possibly happen when you're buying a car?
Start driving back home in a, at that point, 40-year-old car.
So super simple. We met at the Philadelphia airport. It was morning. We were drinking then, still drinking, and we had several cocktails, got in the airplane, wound up in Dallas, and then had to take a car, I believe, outside the city because the dealership who had the car was outside the city. And you were purchasing a used 1972 Chevy Corvette Stingray.
Stevensville, Texas is where we had to get to.
Okay, so in Stevensville, Texas, and the 72 Corvette.
71.
Okay, 71 Corvette. Yep. So 72 is considered the last good year of the Stingray. But the 71 still had the metal bumpers. It was before they had all the fiberglass and the plastic on the cars. Cherry on the outside, gold-flecked 1971 Corvette Stingray. Was it the fastback, or did it have
T-tops? Yeah, coupe.
Okay, so the scoop back, not the fastback. And then did it have side pipes? I don't remember.
It did not have side pipes.
And it was it stick or automatic?
4-speed, small block 4-speed. Yep.
Okay, small block 4-speed. We get to the dealership.
You gonna skip that part? Don't you remember how he picked us up at the airport?
Oh, actually, I don't. Fill that in. That's like the first part that I truly remember is the barbecue. We will get to that. You tell me what happened. This is the part that I forget.
It was a performance car, an antique performance car dealership. It wasn't like a regular used car dealer, basically, is what we went down there.
Yeah.
And it was about an hour plus from the airport.
Yeah.
More than that. And the guy picked us up in like a Ford Ranger, picked us up in that little Ford Ranger, a little regular cab. And the three of us had to jam into that little Ford Ranger for like, I think it was closer to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because I remember him saying it when we got in, and I was like, oh, what? What?
Little red flags popping up. And also, Texas is flat. My buddy says you could watch your dog run away for 3 days straight.
Yeah. Stevensville is known as the cowboy capital of the world.
It was kind of...
There's like nothing but rednecks out there.
Okay, so we take this couple-hour-long drive in a tiny Ford Ranger, and it's probably like those cars, like the interior deteriorates.
It was very nice, and he was the owner that actually picked us up.
Okay.
Which scared me even more because of the shitty little truck. I'm like, really? This is the best thing in there?
You get to the dealer, you handle the transaction. This had nothing to do with me. I was probably fucking off in the parking lot.
There was initially some issue with it starting.
Yeah.
It ended up having some wiring harness issues, which ended up being very minor, but they were just a little hard to track down. I was looking it over, and then they agreed to put it up on the lift for me and everything. I handled a couple little things I asked them to handle or whatever, and it was starting and running fine at that point.
Okay.
Had a little oil leak, little stuff like that. They threw in some stuff, and then they even took some money off, as a matter of fact, because I made a little stink about it.
Yeah. While they were fixing the car, because I know it didn't start when you went to buy it, and that's
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
not a good sign.
Yeah, it'd be great.
I know we went across the street to a roadside barbecue place.
That was after we left.
That was after we left.
Yeah, that was after we left in the car and we pulled in
Okay,
there.
so we left in the car. We were hungry at that point. We pull into a dusty Texas roadhouse barbecue spot.
They told us where to go.
And it was outside.
Yep.
It was like a pit barbecue place. And you walked along this assembly line and they had all these giant cuts of meat and stuff like that and smoke going. And you and I are shoulder to shoulder dragging our plates down.
Yeah.
And we're like, we'll take one of those. We'll take one of those. I'm like, we'll take, what's that? They're like, oh, it's a pork chop. But it was 7 inches thick as pork chop.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, we'll take that. And they're like, do you want butter? We're like, what? They're like, do you want butter? We're like, yeah, sure. And they dunk the whole fucking thing.
Just dropped it into that melted butter.
In this gallon thing of butter and it just floats to the bottom. We're like, what? They don't fuck around here.
Yeah.
We finally get to the checkout and we're like, yeah, we want to buy some pitchers of beer. They're like, we can't sell you beer. And we're like, what? Like, we can't sell you beer, but we can give it to you. We're like, yeah.
Those little Dixie cups of beer.
Basically connecting it to the bigot for the beer that we were drinking. So I remember that. And then I remember we hit the road after that.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I know we got pulled over.
We got pulled over.
In Texas still, yes.
He wanted to check the car out. He said it. The state trooper pulled it over. He said, I want to see that car. Wasn't speeding. No, nothing.
It didn't have like registration, I guess, or something, but...
There was something. I was really careful about the paperwork. I was caught completely unaware. He wasn't happy about something. I know it had insurance and temporary tag, all that stuff. So.
Yeah, I just didn't want to us get stuck. Two boys from Philadelphia in a...
Being down there.
Texas... registered car with no paperwork. Could have been
talking shit.
Interesting, but we ended up having to, so we got pulled over and it's, it's still getting later and later and we stopped. Did we stop because the car was acting up?
I think we stopped once for, I wanted to check out something or something didn't make me, remember the rear tire started to tilt in.
Okay.
The rear tire camber started to get crazy and that ended up being not a big deal either, but I was just not aware of some of the peculiarities of that 71 Corvette model.
Okay.
It was actually no big deal, but it freaked me out to the point where I was thinking, I don't want to keep driving.
Yeah.
I would rather just truck the car home rather than break something else. It was way over the top.
That was like a blind spot for me in this memory because I was like, wait, why, if we were tired, why didn't I drive? We trade off to make it efficient.
Yeah.
That clears that up because I know we stopped because we stopped in Texarkana.
Texarkana, yeah.
And I never even knew a place called Texarkana existed, but once I learned it, it's fun to say, Texarkana.
I never really knew about it either.
So we stopped there and we were going to get a hotel room. And I remember walking into the lobby and there's a woman. I don't know how old she was because in our 20s, she might have been 50 or something, but slightly overweight, middle-aged.
She was older than us for sure.
And she looks fucking horrified to see us.
Yeah.
Like her face is a contorted rictus of horror.
Yeah.
Like you just came in and split my skull with an axe in front of her.
Yep.
And she's speechless and then she starts gibbering.
Her eyes just spin up.
I'm like, oh.
And then she went,
I start going in on her like, hey, are you feeling okay? Blah, blah, blah. Are you diabetic? That's the only thing I could think of at the moment. Are you diabetic? Because her face was looking just like she was in state of catatonic shock. And she must have mumbled like, yeah, something like that. And did you come back with me to the bar when we ran back?
Yeah.
So we ran back to get something.
Juice.
Yeah, sugar.
Yeah.
And there's two bartenders there. And we'll just cover first impression before we get into their story. But there was an African-American gentleman. And then there was a dude with swastikas tattooed all over him. And we were like, what the fuck?
There was like 3 at least that were visible, if I remember correctly.
But there was no time to handle any of that. We were just like, I need something sweet. Do you have orange juice? And they're like, we got whatever fucking from the fountain.
Yeah.
They had shut the soda fountain down for the night, which means they took all the little whiz boings off it. So when they went to get us some soda, it's just like spraying soda everywhere. Like someone took a cap off a fire hydrant or something.
Yeah.
So we managed to get half a glass of something sweet and run out. And by the time we got back out there, half her face had basically melted. So I stopped. I'm like, oh, you had a stroke. We called
911
and got the ambulance to come there. And then we called her family, somehow got her family there too, because I remember arguing with her family that she had to go to the hospital, and they didn't want to take her to the hospital, probably because they didn't want to incur a medical bill. And I'm trying to explain to them that strokes can get more expensive if you don't treat them immediately. Like, this is something that needs to be dealt with right now. Otherwise, it's going to cost you a lot more down the road in healthcare and long-term care. When it comes to spotting stroke and getting help, the faster the better. That's because prompt treatment may make the difference between life and death, or the difference between a full recovery and long-term disability. Can you spot the signs of stroke? Use the acronym FAST to help: face drooping, arm weakness, speech, and time. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association. Check out their library of FAST resources and teach others how to recognize the signs of stroke today. Downloadable at stroke.org. So that was nuts, but we were sort of mini heroes of the moment. We came in there and we identified.
First, we scared her into a stroke somehow, and then we helped her. I would like to say it was like my tattoos that scared her, so not like us.
Yeah, but there was like the fucking Grand Wizard of the KKK working at the bar.
But her bartender was a Nazi tattoo guy. Like, it could have been that bad.
We might have had that initial thought that we did scare her, because she did look horrified to see us.
Yeah.
But she might have been mid-event when we walked in.
Yeah,
or the shock of seeing.
We just pushed her over the top.
Two guys with Philly accents walking into fucking dusty old Texarkana. She had her hand on her scatter gun taped underneath the desk. So we were little mini heroes of the moment, and we go back to the bar because that's what we did. We go to the bar. We go in there, and then the guys are letting us drink for free.
Yeah.
We saved their.
We were heroes. Yeah, a little
receptionist. It was just like us two and those two dudes. If there was other people in the bar, I don't really remember them.
It was not crowded. There was a couple of people scattered around. I do remember, but because I remember feeling people look, and then I remember like doing my whole thing, checking exits and just looking if people were armed, like I always do, because I'm a fucking maniac.
Check your six.
Yeah, knowing I was gonna pour some liquor in. Like, I mean, I don't drink anymore, but I still, to this day, I check shit like that. Like,
and we're not talking like the Four Seasons. We're talking like a roadside motel.
Yeah,
cinder block.
Like a Motel 6. It was definitely corporate.
Yeah, but it was like cinder block and like
aged and
that goopy yellow paint on the outside.
Yeah,
the bar seemed to be an afterthought on the place.
Dark, low ceiling. Yeah,
we're in there nonetheless, and we're watching the black bartender and the white bartender hang out. The white bartender with the fucking swastikas all over him, and we're like, "What is going on here? Like, what's this story?"
And that button-up shirt. Remember?
Yeah,
button-up shirt he had on?
And it turns out they were best friends, and they had apparently served time together. And while the one guy was part of, I don't even know what the like white power groups are called, or white nationalist nonsense is, but
Aryan Brotherhood.
So he's part of like the Aryan Brotherhood or something in prison. But then him and this guy are good friends, and he's seen the error of his ways. And despite his body being painted, he gave up his racist past. And him and this guy were good friends now, and they were backslapping with us. And we had a lovely evening in Texarkana drinking for free because we called 911 after we gave their receptionist a stroke.
I just remember being so confused when that was going on in the bar part, because I'm so virulently anti-racist. Like, I just and I admit it. I enjoy when people look at me and they make a judgment because of my tattoos and my hair or lack thereof, and they think I'm something, and I take pride in being the opposite, because I think it draws people out. I've had a lot of situations like that where it draws people out. So I just remember being so confused, like this guy with the Nazi tattoos, and he's sort of sidling up to me, sort of, like the whole tattoo brotherhood thing or skinhead thing. We were so out of our element, I wasn't going to own any part of that, of course, but he was feeling it out too. It was just so awkward.
We were skipped stones. That's what happened. Someone threw us, and we skipped across the water because we skipped from event to event to event. And that's what this whole trip was like. And it was like, I've come to it in various ways over the years. Like, it should really be a movie, because it's one of those road trip movies where if you embellish the story, which we have not yet, it gets even better. This is literally the perfect fish out of water story, because at every step we were sort of out of our element. One, I was out of my element going somewhere specifically to buy something. It's like, you didn't travel to Texas to buy a Corvette in my head. You went to look at several lots in New Jersey and bought some salted ass, rusted out one. And then to do the transaction with a bunch of dusty cowboys. Like, one, Philly and Dallas have that sports rivalry. So there's like the Cowboys and the Eagles, and the Cowboys suck. And it's a shame that for people who live in Dallas, they have to deal with such a shitty team all the time, when we have the Eagles with us, world champions.
Yeah.
It must be hard to see people come into your town and strut around and peacock.
Yeah.
And look so handsome and healthy, and then be from Dallas.
We had this level of curious, amiable disdain that I think permeated the whole thing.
You just described growing up in Philadelphia, period. Like curious, amiable, disdain. That's the whole Philly thing. You've been beat down so much. It's just pure sarcasm. Like you say hi to a person you love in Philly by being like, hey, go fuck yourself. That's how people show love. And then you were talking about racism and confronting racism and being anti-racist. And in Philly, there's such a cultural melting pot that everybody hangs out with everybody. You go to a city like Los Angeles where everyone's like, oh, Los Angeles is very multicultural. And it is, but it's also very sequestered. The Mexicans hang out with the Mexicans. The Asians hang out with the Asians. The black people hang out with the black people. White people hang out with the white people. And it's sort of weird. But that's how LA grew up. Like these neighborhoods sort of clustered together. Whereas in Philly, there's always been this blend. And Philly's been separated socioeconomically. And it's been destroyed by the placement of the highway back in the day and lots of racist things that happened in the past. But by and large, everyone's there to speak their mind honestly and to each other and hang out with each other with a genuine open heart, I feel.
Yeah.
Given the theme of race and race relations and racism came up, and we have also mentioned anti-racism and what it means to be an anti-racist, I just wanted to give the audience out there a recommendation on a book titled How to Be an Anti-Racist. Let me just give the book a quick plug from their dust jacket. International bestseller, #1 New York Times bestseller, How to Be an Anti-Racist. From the National Book Award winning author of Stamped from the Beginning comes a refreshing approach that will radically reorient America on the urgent issues of race, justice, and equality. Ibram X. Kendi's concept of anti-racism re-energizes and reshapes the conversation about racial justice in America, but even more fundamentally points us toward liberating new ways of thinking about ourselves and each other. Instead of working with the policies and systems we have in place, Kendi asks us to think about what an anti-racist society might look like and how we can play an active role in building it. In his memoir, Kendi weaves together an electrifying combination of ethics, history, law, and science, including the story of his own awakening to anti-racism, bringing it all together in a cogent, accessible form. He begins by helping us rethink our most deeply held, if implicit, beliefs and our most intimate personal relationships, including beliefs about race and IQ and interracial social relations, and re-examines the policies and larger social arrangements we support. How to Be an Anti-Racist promises to become an essential book for anyone who wants to go beyond an awareness of racism to the next step of contributing to the formation of a truly just and equitable society.
I just remember poking each other a lot, just going, look at this dusty motherfucker over here. Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, I should say, though, some of my interactions with Texas had been colored prior to this.
Oh, yeah?
I had a couple of minor altercations.
Okay.
I'll just give you a quick one, right?
Okay.
When I was in college, one of my overzealous friends, he was way out over his skis, and he's going to marry this rich chick from Dallas.
Hey, good for him.
Yeah.
That's my next one, going rich.
She had so much money that my friend Jeff was like, dudes, her family has this compound in Texas. You're all coming down. All my friends, you're all coming down to meet her, meet their family, because it's going to be a big part of the family. I'm going to be a big part of blah, 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 blah. Okay, Jeff. I think there was like 15 of us. They flew 15 of us down to dudes from Trenton State College.
Yeah.
Down there to like
a ranch.
Gentile, Texas.
Yeah.
To a palatial house with the whole middle of the house was glass on both sides overlooking the lake.
That's called a windway.
Yeah. It was their own lake. It was like 40-foot
their own lake.
Yeah. They had a gator that took you down to the dock.
Oh, yeah?
To choose which boat you were going to go skiing on and stuff. Like, it was ridiculous. One night while we were there, we went out to this club, which was like a gargantuan old grocery store that had been converted to a club. And we're standing in line, getting ready to go in. And I'm dressed like I'm from Philly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
A loose Hawaiian type shirt on with like 4-button thing.
No laces, pair of Jenkos.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're standing in line going, and it's cowboy everything. I mean, shit, dudes in boots and everywhere. And we get up the thing, and the guy at the front says, you can't come in here like that. What?
He's trying to save your life.
I had sneakers on. I thought he was kidding. I was like, yeah, come on. You guys are funny down here in Texas. He's like, nah, man. You can't come in. What are you talking about? I said, this dude in front of me literally got shit crusted on his boots. I can't come in like what? And it turned into this minor scuffle thing, but obviously I haven't forgotten that incident either. You know, Texas on the mind.
Bouncer's got a weird job because he did you a kindness. He prevented you from getting your ass kicked by several dudes instead of
probably, yes.
Hearing his jawing in your ear.
That's fair.
Very similarly, Texas has its mystique and intrigue, and it was new to me. I'd never been there. To me, it started with the bang. Well, one, it started because we pretty much showed up drunk, and then two, the car that you went to buy wouldn't start. So that kind of threw a monkey wrench in our plan to get you back in time for the christening.
Put us behind the 8 ball time-wise, yeah. Which was a stupid thing. I never should have. It was idiotic. It was selfish and idiotic on my part.
I don't think so. I think it was noble. That was our goal. So that was my view on it. We were trying to make this event. The thing with the car, which is why we stopped in Texarkana the first time, and then the lady having the stroke.
Yep.
The next morning, I know we went and had to deal with the car because you didn't want to drive it at this moment, did you?
No. We reached that part with the rear suspension, and then coupled with the wiring.
The electricity was going on and off in the car.
Charge lights kept coming on, yeah. It was just a ground, but there was no way I could find it on the side of the road like that.
Yeah.
At that point, I was ready to get it towed, and then we rented the car.
Stingrays were cool. They had that little instrument cluster. It sort of looked like Kit from Knight Rider.
Yeah.
Remember Knight Rider? They had a little rectangular, a tall rectangle, looked like a cell phone screen actually. And it had those cool lights.
You know those cars have fiber optics in them?
Oh yeah,
they actually, really, honestly have fiber optics in them. Yeah,
that's a good segue because what you probably don't know is this is part talk show, part game show. So the game show part is where I pit your intelligence against the machines this season, at least. You're going against today ChatGPT, and I'm going to ask you several questions about the Chevy Corvette Stingrays with your permission, sir. Do you know the first year that the Stingray appeared?
Stingray?
And that's a good distinction because you already know that the Corvette had been around longer than the Corvette Stingray.
Yeah, 53 was the first year for the Corvette itself.
Okay.
I think
what's a good anniversary then for putting out?
A good anniversary? Oh, yeah. I think it was, I'm going to say 67. I think I'm 1 year off.
63. It was a 10-year anniversary of the Stingray first appeared.
Yeah.
Let's see.
63 split window Stingray, of course. I'm a dummy. Yeah.
The split window is now one of the most collectible Corvette designs ever. It was also my favorite micro machine when I was a kid.
They're worth more than, they're crazy. You can't find them anymore. There's no more out there.
What was the standard C8 Stingray engine?
C8 is a LT1 350.
So I think the 350 was the one that was in your car, right?
It was a 350 in my car, yeah.
Okay, so the 350, the thing I remember about those 350s is that my stepdad would always say that we had two of those in the boat because we had a boat with two 350 Merc Cruisers, and he basically said that these are the marine version of the Corvette engine. I don't like these facts that they're giving me. Okay, where are Stingrays manufactured? Home of Corvette production since 1981.
Right where the museum got sucked into the ground.
That's correct. What is it called? The museum got sucked into the ground.
It did. They lost like some of the rarest Corvettes in the world. Oh, God. I can't remember.
Okay. In February 2014, a massive sinkhole opened under the National Corvette Museum's Sky Dome in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Bowling Green, yes.
Swallowing 8 rare Corvettes, including prototypes. Isn't that awesome that you have a car that's so cool that hell literally opens up to swallow?
Because it wanted one.
Satan's like, we need these in hell.
And this one?
I don't like these questions, so I'm going to say I need some general.
I'd like to get a couple right.
Nobody can. Oh, sorry, I'm not going to ruin it for you.
At least I'm adding a little context.
I think you've gotten it right. You knew when the Chevy Corvette debuted. Where was the first one hand built? Let's see if you know
the first one hand built. It'll have to be in Detroit.
Close.
Dearborn?
Flint, Michigan.
Okay, that's general vicinity. I'm taking that one.
The Corvette bodies were made from
fiberglass.
Okay, perfect. That's a good question. Good answer. Corvette's commonly referred to as, this is dumb, but it's called America's sports car. America's sports car. Yeah. It's a coupe.
It was for years and years the only 2-seater sports car, American sports car you could buy, except for the AMX in 1968, 69, and 70.
I lost track of the Stingrays because of the Corvettes because the Stingray was in the 70s was the only one that I really, really loved besides the 60s and 50s one. And I think they really fucked it up in like the late 80s and the 90s. And then they started putting out the newer ones, which were more like this is intended to compete with like your entry level Ferrari or McLaren. And I was just like, okay, I don't like they look cool but they're a little too gingerbready for me.
They're trying to be something they're not. Now they're mid-engine. Now they are like little supercars, and I hate them.
It's a different style.
Yeah.
The Stingray was just a long, slow drive, and everyone looked at it because you're basically driving around in a giant, beautiful cock. And it sounds fucking great, and it only fits one girl.
That's right.
Here's a point of fact for you, Robert. My parents had a 76 Corvette. It was cherry red. It had factory chrome side pipes and it had redone white leather interior. And they moved to the Florida Keys, and I had spent a couple years down there because I was in between high school and college. And I delivered pizza. And in Florida, apparently the rule is the youngest driver has to be insured on the most expensive car or some shit like that. So I was only insured on the Corvette, and I had to deliver pizza in fucking Big Pine Key, Florida, in a cherry 1976 Chevy Corvette. I'd roll up to trailers and shit like that. And Big Pine Key is this wide key with dusty roads, and you can only drive 15, 20 miles per hour on it because there's endangered species, the key deer, reindeer the size of dogs. That's the only place that they live, so you can't drive fast. Delivered for pizza, and you get there, and dude gives you the money for the pizza and basically gives you a look that says, now go fuck off, because you just showed up in a car that's more expensive than...
Not tipping you.
So it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best. But conversely, I did get to drive around in the Florida Keys in a Chevy Corvette. Like, that was my job. Thankfully, it had a tape deck. I remember it had a Jansen tape deck, and I had 3 albums were important to me that year. One was the Bob Dylan album. The other was Wu-Tang, GZA's album, Liquid Swords. That just came out. Fucking play Liquid Swords all the time. And then I was into like Britpop and regular 90s alt nonsense. Anyway, this isn't about that. Let's see. I'll ask you a couple more questions and then we'll get back. We'll pick up our story. So you know where that is. You know about the sinkhole. Okay, what does the Corvette logo feature?
Flags. It's got the flags on it.
What kind of flags?
Checkered flags.
Okay, yeah, they're the checkered racing flags.
Checkered racing flags, yeah.
They're crossed over. Corvettes are traditionally naturally aspirated V8 engines. Later generations added what?
Well, they added fuel injection in 1980. Well, actually, you could get fuel injection in 1954 or 53. Oh, really? Those are the most expensive ones, I believe. Yeah, that was mechanical fuel injection back then. I don't think they added a turbo. No, they started supercharging them, but that was only on Callaways, and that was in like the 86, 87 era, supercharging. So supercharging, I think, is the next thing they added if you're not counting fuel injection.
Okay. And then last question for you. The Corvette has been used as a pace car more than any other vehicle at this event.
The Indianapolis 500.
Perfect. The story of my friends is community driven, community supported. Do you have a story you'd like to tell or a topic you'd like to discuss? Hit me up, joe@tsomf.com. Back to our story at hand. We wake up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed after being served by a Klansman and an African-American gentleman who were best friends after giving a lady a stroke and after hopefully convincing her family that taking her to the hospital was, in fact, the right thing to do and that she fully recovered.
Hopefully she did.
And we had to deal with the car. You didn't want to drive it because the wheel looked like it was falling off, and we needed to get it somewhere.
And I had no tools. I had nothing.
Nothing. We had flown down with backpacks. We weren't even planning on staying anywhere. It was just, we might have been in the same clothes over and over. So
a lot of optimism.
Yeah. So I think you had AAA, if I remember this correctly.
Yep.
You had to call AAA.
I did anticipate this happening. I felt prepared for that.
I just remember sitting around like skipping stones on the side of the road for a couple hours.
I remember like I was just a new Corvette owner. I fell into all the traps. I was like, listen, I remember calling him, say, listen, I have an antique Corvette. I need to get towed. It's got to be a flatbed. It's got to be a decent flatbed, blah, blah, blah. Didn't they show up? Didn't the first one show up? A hook showed up?
A car showed up and it couldn't pick it up because it was, it would have like...
Yeah, that's right.
Scraped the rear end off the car or something.
There's no way you're towing my car with that rig. No way. We're going to have to just wait until flatbed's available. Period.
Yeah. And then we called another place. It's like, because AAA was like, yeah, we're calling this place. And then you call another place, Earl's Towing. I remember because Earl was Earl.
Yep.
That was a funny name. Yeah. Because we were waiting for like a couple hours and like, oh yeah, you're that guy with the Corvette. We're like, yeah. He's like, we told AAA we couldn't tell you. We're like, well, AAA didn't tell us that. And he's like, well, I'll tell you what, I'll come down with the flatbed anyway, which he didn't think would work. And he had somehow used some form of like, I don't know if they were like shims or some form of...
Yeah, we used blocks to lift the car up slowly to drive it onto as it was getting pulled up onto the thing. Yeah, we worked it out.
The Corvette that you had down there to purchase and drive triumphantly back to Philadelphia, we waved goodbye to as it was strapped down to a flatbed. And we now had to rent a vehicle to get back home. Yep. We determined that renting would be cheapest and most economical and quickest at this point.
And quickest, yeah. And it was like a Mercury, it was like a Crown Vic.
Yeah, it was something, it was a weird police captain's car.
Full size gangster.
Driving a couch down the road.
It was great.
Like a Grand Marquis.
Grand Marquis, something like that. Yeah, that's right.
We basically drove at breakneck speed. We passed through like Nashville and Memphis, and I was like, oh, we don't get to go see Graceland or anything like that because we know we were in a hurry. It just didn't. It wasn't a leisurely trip at that point, and by then we had enough.
Yeah.
Did you end up making the?
No.
Okay, well.
Not even close. Because that was a whole big sore point with me and my ex-wife. I called her and said, listen, you got to go and represent us. And, it's all I can do at this point. I messed up and she didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
We talked about it. We're good to go nowadays, so it's all good.
That's the Corvette story, soup to nuts. Is there anything that I'm misremembering?
I can add to that. So I had him tow it to a dealer, and they fixed it in like a half an hour because it was nothing really. All you have to really do was loosen the
we just assumed that the wheel was going to fall off and that they needed to replace the...
As soon as I got home and did a little research, figured out like what it was, what I was really looking at, and what I could have done or whatever, it was no big deal. So I flew into Memphis and took a car to the dealer and then drove it home. I don't know, a week later maybe.
Okay.
I had to get time off of work again and something like that. Thanks for doing this, by the way, Joe. I'm really glad you're doing this. Thank you.
You're kind of backing into the point of the show, which is to get people talking again. You read about there's an epidemic of loneliness. And I walk outside and people are walking out with their necks and their shoulders craned in an aching fashion, staring at their phones.
Yeah.
What are they doing? And I have a little card over here written off to the side that says produce on one side and consume on the other. And you're either doing one of those two things. You're using electronic device. You're either producing something or you're consuming something. And if you're consuming something, oftentimes you're the product. So they're trying to suck you into this machine more and more, and people are losing their ability to converse, and they're losing their ability to understand that the words that they say are important. They don't need to be controversial, and they don't need to come from a celebrity's mouth, but have conversations with people, man. Get together, talk, open up, trying to get people back to that. So thank you for coming on and telling a story that we love to retell. This is actually the absolute point of the show. It's to retell the stories that we would tell time and time again. Bars or parties or playing cards. It's those stories that come up that were part of our past. So thank you for coming in and telling about your Corvette, the beautiful gold 1971 Corvette Stingray. What happened to that car?
I sold it. That one hurts a little bit. That one hurts. I sold that car. Yeah.
I don't think I've had a car that I sold that hurt.
Yeah, that one hurts. My kids loved that car.
It was great, but the kids you'd have to stuff them in behind the seat because that's what we did when we were kids. When my mom had a boyfriend with a Chevy.
It's so funny because you would think it would get less with time, but it hurts more now because my kids are. Well, Jason, in Vermont now, but Ollie, he was out in the garage last night. Him and his friend come over and they're out in the garage. He's doing stuff on his car. He's working on other cars. He's doing stuff all the time. It would just be a magical crown jewel right now.
And that's a car you can work on too.
Let me point out something real quick to you. This is a credit to you because I always was able to the conversation always flowed so easily between you and I. Even at times when it was difficult, we talked about difficult stuff. If I may, just real quick, with your brother and the camping trip and I never felt like I had to shy away from conversations with you, and you always brought the level of conversation up, and I always felt compelled to add to that in the most positive way because of who you are. I think this is an excellent endeavor for you to undertake.
I appreciate that, and I thank you for that because you and I have been together through some tough stories and tough bumpiness. Fuck, Robert, I almost killed you, and that's a story.
I was going to say we should really do that one.
I don't want to tell that story until I get good at telling the stories, period. I think those stories need to be told later when I have more experience. It's worthy to tell a story. If you're willing to tell it, I'm willing to tell it.
Yeah, I'm an open book, man.
Hey, look in the chat real quick because I sent you a 1972 gold Corvette for sale. 35 grand, Jesus,
that's it. And by the way, that's War Bonnet Yellow is that factory color.
War Bonnet Yellow, nice.
That's what it was called, yeah.
Trojan probably had a condom that color. You had Leo Sayer in the 8-track. You make me feel like dancing, but you had chest hair and a gold chain. If you owned this car in 1972, you had a white guy fro. You had a big fucking butterfly collar with your chest hair hanging out.
Yeah, no doubt.
You probably stunk like Stetson.
That's something right there, man.
Okay, so that's our show for now. The Story of My Friends is a production of JF3 Co. LLC, produced by yours truly, Joe Friend. We'd like to thank Robert Pratley for joining me to tell what needs to be the next great road trip and buddy film, The Corvette Story. Special thanks to our assistant producer, Erica Loshin, and a shout out to all the creators of the clips and whiz-boings used throughout this episode. Acknowledgements, attribution, credits, and thanks can be found on our website at thestoryofmyfriends.com. Questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, ideas, send us an email, listener@thestoryofmyfriends.com.